So I think that not everybody has that.
Runner-up Houston was number 2, while reigning champion Florida was number 3. UConn was 4th, followed by St. John's. Duke, Michigan, BYU, Kentucky, and Texas Tech rounded out the top 10. The SEC, Big 10, and Big 12 each had 6 ranked teams. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Partial sunshine develops here for today. We'll see high around 70 degrees. Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, we'll have a chance for rain showers here late, mostly cloudy and a low near 56. By Wednesday, a slight chance for rain showers, cloudy high of 63, and Thursday, sunny high of 70. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 62. 1 in 4 Americans have a disability. I'm one of them. I'm also a working mom who cares deeply about making sure every child with a disability thrives by getting their access needs met. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals provides children and families the foundation for lifelong success through early learning programs, skills training, and prep for college and career. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Join us at easterseals.com.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chu. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chu.
Good Tuesday morning, progressives. Chins up and shoulders back. Yes, it is time to fight. Welcome to the October 14th, 2025 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278 is our Credo mobile phone and text line. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, Heartland Signal, and YouTube. Email me at richard@wcpt.com. Follow me on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, Threads, and Substack. And catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. There you can get Choose Views, featured interviews, Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, and, of course, all of our other wonderful shows, Out Chicago and the like. Make your way over to heartlandsignal.com to get a take on what we are talking about. I said this yesterday, and I maybe don't say it enough in this manner, but our digital newsroom, our digital platform is stellar, one of the best in the country. And it provides you with the tools that you may need to help bat down and swat down the crazy members of your family and your friend network that say, those damn Democrats. Yeah, okay. That's right. So make your way over there. There's a couple of great pieces and articles right now that were posted. One about the Chicago pastor that's attacked by ICE agents, which was just disgusting to see. And Governor Walz talking about Trump's attempt to deploy the National Guard, mass border patrol, conversations from the WGN producer, Debbie Brockman, that was tackled to the ground. There's just a great list of things that we have over there now. So make your way to heartlandsignal.com to check those out. That situation, Devin, I saw that while we were gone. That situation where Ms. Brockman got taken to the ground was just as bad as, well, I shouldn't say just as bad. It was bad like the woman that got chokehold by the ICE agent out in Broadview. I mean, it's just, I look at it and say, what if that happened to you, dude? Or what if that were your sister, or your mother, or your aunt, or, your daughter? How would you feel if one of your family members, and I'm not being gender biased, I'm just saying it this way, women particularly showed up at an event to protest, and they got taken down by the authorities there for just protesting, not doing anything that's obstructive or offensive other than calling you some names that you may not like because you're thin-skinned. Devin and I have been called a few names in our lifetime. Maybe me more than him because I'm just older than him, but that doesn't mean I just suddenly start attacking people because believe me, I would be underneath the jail if I had such thin skin for the names that I've been called in my lifetime. I'd be under the jail if I had reacted in a way, authority or not. So anyhow, make your way over to Heartland Signal. Check out some of the articles and posts that we have there that will help you in your processing all of this craziness. On today's show, we have Mayor from Aurora, Illinois, John Laesch, will be with us in the 6:30 hour. At 7 o'clock, Amy McGrath, who is going to talk about her Senate race in Kentucky. I'm always look forward to talking with Amy. She'll be with us at 7 o'clock, and that's going to be a great segment, as well as our conversation with a member from the Center for the American Progress, who's been with us before, Bobby Kogan. Will be chatting with us in the 7:30 hour. So looking forward to having those folks riding shotgun with me this morning. But right now, check this out, progressives.
What's striking is they're doing this in broad daylight, some cases busy intersections during rush hour. Does that add to the claim that perhaps they're doing this on purpose to provoke?
It's clear that they are doing it on purpose to provoke it. And I should add that they lie every time they do one of these things. They claim that something happened that didn't really. We saw a WGN producer being, handled in a way that you wouldn't see a trained police officer do. And they're going after people. You heard, of course, the shooting and killing of the man in Franklin Park, where at first they said the officer was seriously injured and being dragged, and then later you heard no serious injuries. But the initial report out of ICE was this release that said something terrible had happened by this man that they shot and killed. So you can tell they lie every time, it seems like. So we can't believe it when they say it. We do have to do our own investigations. And that's why it's so vital that people are pulling out their phones and filming.
Exactly. The last part there, the last two parts, they lie. We know it. We've seen examples of it. It's not our exaggeration. And the other thing that's critically important, this is one of the tools that all the attorneys that I've talked with, whether I've had them on the show or I've communicated with them via email or social media, is if you go anywhere close to an event, then you should be filming it. If you go to any protest whatsoever, I know this weekend is the No Kings rally, so that's going to be quite an event, and I hope to participate. But when you go, as Governor Pritzker said, to anything now, make sure you're filming it, because these fools are dangerous. There's no other way of putting it. They are not providing. Listen, here's the thing that I think a lot of people. I don't want to say this way. I don't want to say people are missing this. I think that it might be passing over us in some way, and I say all of us. And that's this. It's two parts. The first part is, I don't feel safer in Chicago or the surrounding communities because of ICE agents being here and a peppering of National Guard being in certain areas. I don't feel any safer because of that. I just don't. But part of it is I didn't feel in danger prior to that. That's the thing. If Devin and I were hanging out anywhere, Devin and I are going to roll strong because we feel safe in our city and our community, suburbs included. We feel pretty doggone safe. And we've joked about this before. We could be in a community that's less urban, even less suburban, more rural, and I might feel a little bit less safe there than I would on the west side of Chicago or certain communities on the south side of Chicago. I mean, truthfully, Devin and I could be in a rural community somewhere in America, driving along in a minding our business, and pull into a gas station. Young white dude, older black dude. Devin and I would be checking doorways and exit routes, more so than if he and I were hanging out on the west side of Chicago or in Inglewood. And I think that can be laid over so many different places in America right now. That's the concern. That's what we have to remind ourselves of. ICE is not making our lives any safer. And the peppering of National Guard in certain communities is not making us any safer. If someone give me evidence of it, that safety factor. And when I saw the video clips of people avoiding, ICE agents and others walking down Michigan Avenue over the last 2 weeks, these people are looking at them like they're crazy. Now, by contrast, the other part of what I wanted to say to this point is, I don't want it to become normal for ICE to be in our communities, not just here in Chicago, but anywhere in the country. I don't want that to be the norm, and they're trying to move in that direction. We've talked about this before. Many of us have talked about it. We don't want that at all. It's not needed. It's not necessary. And the other part that goes along with it, referencing back to Governor Pritzker, is that we know they're lying, and they're not paying attention. This is the other part. They're not paying attention to the real data. Okay, it's situational data. It's the flavor of the day. What can they make a hyperbolic moment? What can they kind of glorify as another situation where someone got out of hand and they decided to shut them down? But what do you expect when you've got people whose livelihoods, and in their mind, their safety or the safety of someone they care about in their community is being threatened because you're rolling in. I saw this situation I believe it was on the subway in New York. I think that's where it was. This guy gets on the train, and he's got a ball cap on turned backwards. He's wearing what looked to be like a pullover shirt and a camera that might or might not have been on or been an actual body cam, and some sort of badge that he could have bought on Amazon. And he was trying to get a guy to step off the train. And some people, kind of stepped in to help out, and the person that was filming it and all. But that's the kind of nonsense and the lack of belief that we have, because they are lying. And this guy rolls up on this guy in the subway. I mean, no, we're not going to let you disappear him just because you say you were part of. And when he was asked if he was law enforcement or part of ICE, he really wouldn't answer the question. He kind of nodded and he quietly mumbled something. If you are ICE and you have the authority to be there, then be loud and proud about it. Right, Devin? I mean, don't just kind of punk around and not say anything. So there you go. I mean, they lie, as the governor said. They lie a lot. Let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278, our Credo mobile phone and text line. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM, and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Wendy's is open till midnight or later, so you can give in to the craving and go night mode. Now all of your favorite menu items just got their bedtime extended. You can get what you want even later, like the Baconator with 6 strips of bacon, or the perfect fries and Frosty Duo. If you're up later, then so are we. So go ahead and pull through the drive-thru. When the craving hits, go night mode at Wendy's. Open till midnight or later. All right, see ya later.
At participating U.S. Wendy's, hours may vary.
Hey, Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Good morning. You're waking up with Richard Chu.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
We're live and ready to hear from you. Text or call us now at 773-763-9278. Same number. Simple as that. Let's get the conversation going on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, guys. Welcome back to the show. Today on Live, Local, and Progressive, Joan Esposito will be talking to John Shaw, director of the Paul Simon Public Policy Institute at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, and Joe Brancatelli of the JoeSentme.com Business Traveler newsletter. Live, Local, and Progressive weekdays 2 to 5 here on WCPT, HeartlandSignal.com, and tune in. Also, tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by co-host Ken Mejia Beal. And their guests are Lynn from Elk Grove Township Indivisible. Lynn's a great lady. Kayla Aragona, board member of Seattle Indivisible. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 here on WCPT, Heartland Signal website. Tune in, YouTube, and Facebook. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63 will be with us. Tamar Jacoby, director of the New Ukraine Project, and I always mess that up, the New Ukraine Project at the Progressive Policy Institute, and retired Major General William N. Yurt will be with us, who previously served as a commanding general of the Illinois National Guard, as well as a member of Congress for one term. So that's going to be a nice morning of folks that we'll be chatting with. Looking forward to talking to all three. And of course, you guys have heard this by now, but I want to make sure that I review it again. With Tom Hartman being in Chicago, the book signing event at Max and Benny's is sold out. If you reserved your seats and are planning to attend, WCPT will be there to welcome you in as early as 6 p.m. For the 7 o'clock event. The tickets for the October 15th labor panel are still available. And as we've announced, we've changed the venue. It's going to be at Max and Benny's from 3 to 5 p.m. Tomorrow, which is October 15th. Tom Hartman and I will be co-hosting the labor panel at Max and Benny's, not in Broadview as previously scheduled. If you can make it out, if you can't make it out, I should say, to the labor panel, be sure to tune in to WCPT tomorrow from 3 to 5 to hear it live. So just to remind you guys, it's going to be at Max and Benny's, not at the Broadview Union location. So just to keep you guys aware of what's happening there. All right. Let's hit them with a couple of Choose Views news items, Devin, on this October 14th, 2025. Besieged First Brands CEO resigns. Patrick James resigned yesterday as CEO of First Brands Group, the auto parts supplier group that he founded, is seeking bankruptcy protection amid questions over its accounting practices. James will be replaced on an interim basis by industry veteran Charles Moore, who was appointed Chief Restructuring Officer last month. The Justice Department has reportedly opened an investigation into First Brands, which acknowledges that $2 billion is unaccounted for after raising billions through off-balance sheet financing. The company owes over $10 billion to some of Wall Street's biggest firms. Amazon is expected to hire 250,000 workers ahead of the holiday season. It said yesterday, the same as the last 2 years, but the e-commerce giant seems alone in its hopeful outlook. Retailers overall could add fewer than 500,000 seasonal jobs this year, the lowest number since 2009, according to Challenger, Gray and Christmas. Americans are reining in their spending amid tariff-related price hikes and a struggling labor market, as we've talked about before. Still, they're expected to spend more than $253 billion online in November and December, according to Adobe. It's a 5.3% more than last year. That doesn't mean the purchases have increased, but the dollar amount has. That's a reflection of the increase in pricing, not necessarily the increase in activity. The CDC reinstates hundreds of staff. Trump's administration has rehired roughly 700 workers at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention after determining many had been erroneously terminated because they don't know what the hell they're doing. According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Communications Chief Andrew Nixon, staff had received, quote, incorrect notifications regarding their employee status, and all mistaken dismissals have since been remedied. Reinstated staff, quote, include scientists who study infectious disease outbreaks, including Ebola and measles. The move follows Friday's mass layoffs of federal employees, which affected over 1,000 CDC employees. JP Morgan pledges $10 billion to protect U.S. economic security. JP Morgan announced yesterday that it will spend $10 billion in critical sectors like defense and minerals. Quote, it has become painfully clear that the United States has allowed itself to become too reliant on unreliable sources of critical minerals, products, and manufacturing, according to CEO Jamie Dimon. The bank will focus primarily on U.S.-based technologies like AI, energy technology, and supply chain and manufacturing. So good on JP Morgan for stepping into that space. Uncertainty looms over military pay. What does that mean? Despite the Trump administration's pledge that all available funds will be used to ensure U.S. troops are paid during the government shutdown, it is likely they will miss their first paychecks tomorrow. While the government said it would pay the military using tariffs and tax revenues, it's, quote, unclear how without a deal. That's true. No such options appear imminent for other federal workers, more than 4,000 of whom received layoff notices last Friday, including those at the Department of Housing and Urban Development, as well as at the Centers for Disease Control, as we just spoke of. Last but not least, the Israeli hostages released by Hamas. As 20 Israeli hostages held by Hamas were freed yesterday. The release of all living hostages taken on October 7, 2023, was a major condition to a ceasefire between the two that went into effect Friday. The deal, in which Hamas would release hostages taken from Israel in exchange for some 2,000 Palestinian hostages and prisoners, was brokered by a combination of countries, Egypt, Qatar, Turkey, and the U.S. And it seems that it's a key step in ending this 2-year conflict that destabilized the region. Now, what I want to say on that is this. I think I said yesterday, Devin, that I'm done with seeing the death of children, the death of old folks, and the death of people, period, in this conflict, and the heavy-handedness of Israel. You can get after me all you want to about that. We know Hamas has to go, and frankly, the heavy-handedness of Israel as well. But as it relates to this deal, I'm glad that we're there, because I'm, like so many of us, tired of what took place and what happened. So the credit for this goes to a number of people. Donald Trump's the sitting president, and to whatever extent he had involvement, then that's the reality of that. But everything that I've read, and many of you have read this as well, that much of what was put together was already on the table by President Biden and his administration. And the thing that I'll say is I'm happy this is moving in the direction of being over with, and let's see how long both sides really do, keep it that way. And we all are going to have our speculations and thoughts about what Donald Trump got, not the U.S., in terms of the deal, the plane and this base with that's being negotiated and all these other things. But at the end of the day, if people are going to be returned, then that's a good thing. And if this conflict is going to be taken down to zero, then that's a good thing. But what I also want to say is I want to give praise to President Biden, because we know that a big part of what was negotiated was part of the plan that he had fostered. Also, I want to give praise to President Biden for the dignity that he showed and the immediate praise and congratulations that he put out when it came to this being negotiated and completed. First thing, that he was very quick to say that he's glad that this conflict is being resolved. He gave Donald Trump his due, as well as his previous administration, meaning President Biden's previous administration's involvement in getting this done. And I think that shows, once again, the class that he represents as an American, certainly having been president. And so I will give my kudos to President Biden for his involvement while president in getting this done. And yes, that's the job. He was supposed to do that and be involved to the best of his ability to help get this resolved. So kudos to all involved. And, I can't speculate in terms of what the inside deals were, but I think some of it was pretty obvious. And forward we can go. Fingers crossed that they both sides will maintain their part of the deal. Now, to shifting to poking a little bit of fun at the bear. If you guys didn't see the speech, I guess you'll call it, that Trump gave in Egypt, you should watch the video. Sweaty and mumbling and not able to complete some sentences in his speech. I mean, sweat was pouring down his face. And here's the thing. Normally when you sweat, Devin, you try to, you wipe it away, you dab it away a little bit. The problem with it is he'd need to use an orange handkerchief to get it done effectively, because if he wiped it off on a white handkerchief, I have to poke fun. I'm going to. I'm not going to stop. But, yeah, I mean, people talked about President Biden's issues medically and health-wise and all that, but yet we have this dude in the White House that has ones that are visible to us every single day. So here we are. But, yeah, that's watch the video. That's what I'll tell you of this sweaty and incoherent mumbling and babbling that he did, making his way through this situation. So what we'll do is take a quick break, because we do have to keep moving along with our guests this morning. The number, of course, is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is your WCPT Progressive Calendar. Wednesday, October 15th at 6 p.m., author and professor of Black Studies and Political Science Cedric G. Johnson will speak at UIC's SRC Rathskeller, 644 South Halsted in Chicago. The event, Facing and Fighting State Violence, is free and open to the public. Friday, October 24th at 7 p.m., Women and Children First Bookstore invites you to come celebrate the 2025 Karen Lewis autobiography, I Didn't Come Here to Lie, My Life and Education, written in collaboration with historian Elizabeth Todd Breland. Joining Todd Breland in conversation at the event is Chicago Teachers Union member Debbie Pope. The event is free and open to the public and takes place at 5233 North Clark Street in Chicago's Andersonville neighborhood.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Partial sunshine develops here for today. We'll see high around 70 degrees. Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, we'll have a chance for rain showers here late, mostly cloudy and a low near 56. By Wednesday, a slight chance for rain showers, cloudy high of 63, and Thursday, sunny high of 70. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 62.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. Yeah, Donald Trump probably had very little to do with what has taken place without something being given to him rather than the safety of the people that are most directly impacted. That being said, I'm going to kind of take a little bit of the high road as best I can here. That people are being returned to their homeland or returned to their families, however we want to phrase it. I think that's ultimately the most important part of all of this. So just to keep that in mind. Our local leadership in any community is critically important. I talk about that often because I'm a big believer in making sure, sorry about that, guys, a big believer in making sure that we are, taking care of what's happening at home and taking care of our local communities. And here in Chicago and our near suburbs, we have some great leaders. One of them is the 60th mayor of Aurora. He's been with us before, and a great guy that's just really making things happen in one of the western suburban communities of Chicago. So I'd like to welcome to our show once again, John Laesch, Mayor of Aurora, Illinois. Good morning, Mayor Laesch. How are you today?
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Listen, I got to tell you a story. I was on way last week and was watching Jeopardy while I was in Canada. And one of the questions came up on, I made you laugh. One of the questions came up, and I knew the answer. It was the city of Aurora. And I just chuckled. I was like, yeah, I know that. I knew that answer. So
it's a city of lights. And right now we've actually got a really cool interactive art light show in our downtown area that'll be up this whole weekend. Kids absolutely love it. Not what you called to talk about, but I had to give it a plug.
Well, I had planned on coming back to that, so we will talk a little bit more about that before we wrap up our segment. But it was good talking with you a few weeks ago, and as I said to you then, I definitely want to have you back because what you're making happen in Aurora is significant to the city, of course, but also to the region. And we appreciate the leadership that you've shown there to help the people in the community, be able to follow you and a newly elected mayor as well. I mean, it's been, this year, and we're really happy for what you've been doing. So let's talk a little bit, though, about a big issue that's right at your doorstep. It's at ours here in Chicago. And that's ICE in Aurora and how you guys are navigating and dealing with ICE agents being in your community.
Well, there's a very active group, Aurora Rapid Response Team, that has been playing a regional role. West Chicago was the first to take the hit, and Aurora has been left alone for the most part, but it seems to be this past Thursday there was a heavy presence of ICE. The community stepped up and came out to confront them. We are starting now to try and find other ways to intervene while still making sure we're abiding by state and federal laws. So it hasn't been easy, just like it has been easy for other communities when the Supremacy Act gives the federal government more power than local governance. But the key is trying to show up as a community when there is what I call an ICE snatching, and to make it difficult for them. And I think the new thing that we're going to be trying is informing people of their rights, not just their rights to pursue a warrant, but even doing some training with the ACLU so people can start asking questions about, am I being detained? We have ICE agents asking 16-year-old kids if they're legal citizens, interrogating kids in front of our high school. It's just absurd what level they will stoop to. And when I say that they're violating constitutional law, that's arresting without a warrant or without probable cause. They're no longer, I don't know that they ever were, but they're not going to people's homes who have a criminal record. They're just randomly snatching people off of the street who committed the horrific crime of being brown. Yeah. It's the costume that we wear sometimes, Mayor Laesch, is it's an interesting costume to wear. I was talking earlier in the show about safety, and I don't feel any safer with ICE agents or the peppering of National Guard being in Illinois, and certainly in Chicago specifically. And I know that I've talked to a number of people that have said the same thing. They don't feel any safer because they didn't feel unsafe prior to. And in some ways, they feel less safe because it's that intimidation factor for everyday folk that are just going about their lives, whether they be, a brown skin like me or lighter brown skin like you. I mean, it's just it's not a safety factor. What are you hearing from people that are in your community when it comes to if they, quote, feel safer or less safe? I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but what are you hearing in that space? Well, I think people are feeling a lot more anxious and nervous and alarmed and fearful. Safety has not come up as a word that people feel. I mean, personally, law enforcement has never made me feel safe because if things go awry, they have the guns and I don't. But I will say, and even we had a U.S. citizen arrested here the other day, a white woman. Yeah. And I can assure you she'll forever be traumatized and in no way feel safer by the presence of armed, masked people roaming the streets of Aurora. Really, what I think you're seeing is an attempt by the federal administration to normalize this behavior under the guise of safety.
Yeah, that was I mentioned that earlier as well, so I don't feel so crazy in saying that, but that normalization is something that we can't tolerate, and I think that in addition to people being snatched and grabbed and just the part that's been stressful for me, frankly, and I'm certain that you've got your thoughts about this, is the literal manhandling of people, and it seems as though the most disturbing ones have been ones where they've been manhandling literally women, throwing women to the ground, choke holding women, and that the physical intimidation that's been hoisted, unfortunately, on women. I know that's probably turned your stomach a few times.
It's excessive use of force against women and children. Yep.
I've found, interestingly, too, when it comes to how ICE agents are being pushed back on, that many of them seem to have a certain level of thin-skinned personality. I haven't seen anyone actually attack an ICE agent. I've seen people push back when they've been grabbed. But other than that, some name-calling and the guy that threw a Subway or threw a sandwich at an ICE agent, I haven't seen any citizen of any community actually attack or make the lives or the safety of an ICE agent or any of the National Guard. I haven't seen any actual physical threats toward them. Have you noticed or heard anything that I'm missing?
I haven't seen it. You're right. There's some name calling, of course. Again, this is where we have to use the laws that are available to us. So, for example, there was a snatching taking place, and the deputy mayor arrived on the scene and went to the private property owner whose property was happening on and asked her, did they have permission to be on your property? You can tell them no. And she said, no, they did not have permission to be on my property. And so he said, then he was able to tell law enforcement, our APD, that the woman had said they don't have the right to be on our property. And so the police went over and let the ICE agents know. So, using the power of the laws that exist is probably more effective than name calling. But I can tell you this, I think that people are going to do whatever they can, and I would encourage them to be nonviolent and to make sure to maintain a level of distance. But we need to not back down and not let this happen without protest.
Yeah, we had one of our guests yesterday spoke about that and the importance of protesting and the history of protesting in the world, but certainly here in America. Gloria Brown Marshall was with us talking about that and really illustrated the importance of protest and why we have to continue to do it, and why if we don't, it goes back to what you said a moment ago about that normalizes this behavior, and we can't. It's the risk of it's there. However, we still have to do it, and making it clear in our communities. Mayor Laesch, let me. It's not so much a pivot, but just I want to ask you maybe a couple of broader questions, and largely because of the demographic of your community, being a diverse community, being a diverse city. We've seen, hopefully, a calming of temperatures, if you will, in the Middle East. And I'd like to get your thoughts on that, because I know that you do have a small representation of Palestinian brothers and sisters there. What are you seeing? What are you feeling? What are your thoughts about what has taken place in these last 3 or 4 days?
So I actually lived in the Middle East. I lived in Manama, Bahrain for 3 years while serving as a U.S. intelligence analyst with the United States Navy. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. First of all, I am a supporter of a free Palestine and oppose the genocide that's been happening in Gaza. But I just want to be honest with you. I haven't watched the news on that front because we've been so consumed by what's happening here locally. But I don't know if there's a temporary ceasefire in place or what it is you're referring to. If you could shed some light on it, I would be happy to discuss it further.
Well, yeah, that the temporary ceasefire, or the ceasefire, I should say, is what was signed last Friday, and the hostages have been released that were being held, and now the prisoners that were being held by Israel have been released or being in the process of being released. And so that's sort of where we are. And I'm kind of like you. I've followed it a little bit, but I think the bigger thought for me is, will it stand? Will it actually, take hold? I know that we don't know that. You and I certainly don't. But I remember you talking about before your time outside of the country. So I was just curious as to if you had any thoughts about that broadly or specifically.
Well, I've wanted to see a ceasefire for a long time, and I think it's been 2 years now since this started, so it's long overdue. I guess the next question that U.S. taxpayers have to ask ourselves is, are we also going to pay for the reconstruction, and what does the reconstruction look like? Will Palestinian people have their land and have freedom, or is it just going to be, which I've assumed a lot of this was nothing more than a land grab, and an effort to make any form of Palestinian government extinct. So I think next, we have to look at what reconstruction looks like, and I think U.S. taxpayers need to ask themselves, would you rather be rebuilding the streets of Aurora and the number of bridges that have structural problems or have reached the end of their life cycle, or do you want to pay for the Israeli government to extend the land grab in Palestine?
What a great point. See, I knew that I could get you to that, not to that answer, but to talk about how it impacts us as it relates to, the administration talks about America first. How much money, how much resource are we going to and have already utilized in this process? So I agree with you 100%, Mayor Laesch. How will this economically start to affect us versus taking care of people right here in the country, in the United States? So,
as I want to flip back to the last issue. When you bring up the money, I want you to think about this, right? It was roughly a year and a half ago where Texas was bringing migrants into Illinois, right?
Yep.
And now you've got a bunch of Texans running around with guns, snatching migrants up and taking them back. How much money has this cost? This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Where is your fiscally conservative Republican going, what is going on? Right? They will cheer. They'll cheer to bring the migrants here. They'll cheer to take the migrants back, and they never stop and ask the question, how much is this costing?
Mayor Laesch, thank you for going there, because that's one of the things I've come to enjoy about you. Thank you for going there, because I said, in terms of Greg Abbott's decision to send migrants or asylum seekers to the state of Illinois, I thought, what a dumb move for politically. Maybe keeping them, taking care of them there would have been a better move, and then showing the support for them to galvanize additional voting support in the state of Texas. But no, that's let's cause pain to people rather than let's better people's lives. And how much then, to your point, does it actually cost? And here we are yet again, the so-called Republican. I've never viewed them as fiscally conservative in all of my life. I never have, because time and time again, they end up spending money on the things that matter least for the country's betterment, and more toward the pockets of those who are their supporters and their donors. And I can go back all the way back to Reagan. I can go back to Nixon, frankly, because I've been alive long enough to remember that even as a kid. So, yeah, and here we are once again. How much is this going to cost us, and how much waste of resources has the Republican Party specifically and at large cost us? We're talking with Mayor John Laesch of the great city of Aurora, Illinois. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu, and yes, we are talking with Mayor John Laesch. Let's pivot a little bit. Let's talk about this wonderful light luminara time that's taking place in your city and how it's going to be transformed into this kind of luminous playground. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's awesome. We did this for the first time last year. It was tried in, I think Boston was one of the first cities to do it, drew hundreds of thousands of people. We haven't put it that far on the map, but if you come to downtown Aurora, you're going to see be part of an experience that you can't see anywhere else. A lot of this is designed around, for kids to have fun. So some of these interactive displays or big tubes kids crawl through. There's bubble machines and interactive screens where they can see their shadow when they play in front of it, and doors that open every time it opens is a different image. It just captures their attention. We've got a big interactive bonfire that recognizes the historic significance of the Native Americans that used to live along the banks of the Fox River. So it's just really cool lighted displays. We've had some live bands, and I think people come and check it out. They're gonna love it, especially families that have young kids.
Yeah, it's a cool lighting event. It's more than that, though. It's obviously the experience. It's also highlighting what the city has done, not just in terms of this transformation with the Luminara, but also how really Aurora has been a transformative city in Illinois, and certainly a big draw for so many people that have decided to move there from different parts of the country, if not more specifically the state. But right now, when you look at something like this Luminara time, which goes till the 26th, if I'm correct, is that right? Till October 26th?
Yeah, it goes to the 26th. Mm-hmm.
When you look at something like that, and I think of the word transformation, what have been some of the things that you've seen or you feel or you've been involved with when it comes to the transformation of Aurora? It's grown significantly over the last 2 decades, frankly, if not longer, but we can really kind of set the clock at 2 decades and how much the city has grown, how much the city has been impactful to the region. What are your feelings and thoughts about that?
Regionally, our number one attraction is the Paramount. We also have another theater, Stolt Island Theater, where the $1 Million Quartet is playing. It's an immersion theater, so you're really right there next to the actors and actresses, and it's all of it comes at a very affordable price for theater. The Paramount has played a significant role in the transformation of our city and continues to. People can enjoy live theater at an affordable price. We have a lot of new restaurants for people to experience. I want to shift just to talking about and thinking about something that's a little more political. I mean, we want people to come down and patronize our city, but, America is going through a pretty dark period of time, right, where we talk about the normalization of having troops in our streets and taking people off the streets without a warrant or probable cause. So, I believe and hope that Aurora can be and live up to our name of a beacon of hope and pierce through this darkness and become a community that looks after each other, that's going to stand up for each other, that's going to take care of each other during hard times, and that can find new and creative ways to make sure that we all survive economically, emotionally, and are thinking of each other's well-being with every decision that we make. So that's my hope for the City of Lights. It's been a challenge so far with a massive deficit in our budget. But I'm optimistic as always, and want to continue to plow forward and be that beacon of hope that I think everybody in America is looking for right now.
Without a doubt, that's a big part of why mayors like you are digging in and leaning into ways to make sure that the community that you lead is a beacon of hope. It is a place that people want to be. It is a place that folks feel comfortable in, and there's a smile on their face. I've commented on this a couple times, that the marathon that was here, obviously in Chicago, was a global event. And it was well done. It was well attended and lots of runners. And what it also showed for me personally, and you may have a similar take on this, is that it showed the strength of Illinois. It showed the strength of Chicago. It showed the strength of our suburbs, frankly, and how our, I say this often, Mayor Laesch, our ideas, our optimism, our goal to have things be better for everybody, not just those that may have voted for you if you're an elected official or those that may lean your way politically. That's one of the things that is a bright spot about who we are as progressive liberal Democrats. It's about optimism and taking care of all of us. And the marathon, I think, really represented a lot of that. To see so many people out from all over the world here in this city that has been getting, or in this community, this region, this state, and you're a part of it, that's been catching hell from, a lot of the mainstream media and a lot of the misguided politicians. Yeah.
Yep. Well, I think it's still a great place, and if we're approaching Civil War, then we're probably District 11 or District 12, the first to go through it, maybe. So I think we're strong and we're survivors, and I think it's important that as we watch ineffective government that only works for the wealthy and the powerful and the politically connected start to disassemble itself, that we think about what kind of world we want to live in and start building towards that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. My colleague and friend Michelle Peltier talks about that often. What are we going to look like on the other side of this? And how are we going to be prepared to handle when we are, quote unquote, back in a position to make these kinds of changes that we've been pushing for? And I think one of the most important things we have to do is keep fighting and keep strengthening our local communities. You've been one of ththose voices, Mayor Laesch, and it's a pleasure to have you with us on the show again this morning. Look forward to having you back again and talk about some things as we get toward the end of the year. And I know that Aurora's always shown up and shown out when it comes to the holiday season, and done some great things. So I look forward to having you back again in a few weeks to talk about what you guys are doing for that great city that you're the mayor of. So thanks for being with us, man. How can folks find you once again?
The city of Aurora government is on social media. We have a amazing website, and if people Google for Luminara, we have its own web page, and you can see some of the lighted displays that are out and get a quick preview online before you head out and check it out.
Sounds good. Mayor John Laesch of the great city of Aurora, Illinois, thanks for being with us this morning. We always appreciate you taking the time out, and we look forward to talking to you again soon. Sound good?
Thanks, Richard, for having me on. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Luminara is spelled, just FYI, Lumenaura. So if you guys go to the website, you can check out what they're doing in Aurora, Illinois. And it's another one of those other great cities that's in the great state of Illinois, but also one of the great cities that is a suburb of a big metropolitan area. And they're getting it done there. So kudos to the mayor, his staff, and all the people that are there. Let's take a quick break, Devin. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. If you have children, they are always going to be your special bundle of joy. And if they're a newborn baby, you want to make sure what's best for them. So here are the best baby product companies that support the Democratic Party. Procter & Gamble. Now, Procter & Gamble owns Luvs, Pampers, and All Good. In 2024, Procter & Gamble gave $599,000 to the Democratic Party, 61% of their donations. Procter & Gamble supports the Democratic Party. Kirkland Diapers. Now, Kirkland Diapers are owned by First Quality. And First Quality does not give to politics, but their employees do, and their employees lean slightly to the left, as $50,000 are donated to Democrats in 2024. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
Straight Talk presents The Math of More. Here's how it works. When you say yes to more with Straight Talk, you're left with more for all the other good stuff. So getting an unlimited plan starting at just $25 a month equals more savings for your family's weekend adventures. And with a network covered by Verizon, you can share more from wherever you go. It's simple math, really. More equals more with Straight Talk. Available at straighttalk.com and Walmart. Taxes and fees apply. The $25 plan requires a compatible unlocked device and a new line of service. Additional terms apply.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. Donald Trump has implemented a barbaric anti-immigration policy with mass deportations and having ICE agents showing up unannounced at people's homes, workplaces, and anywhere they suspect, separating families, ruining lives, and deporting people without any due process. But one company is taking a stand against Donald Trump. Greyhound Bus Lines has implemented a no warrant, no boarding policy. This prohibits ICE agents to enter the vehicle without a warrant. Greyhound Bus says they want to guarantee the rights and civil liberties of their passengers. Greyhound Bus is the largest inner-city bus system in the U.S., with over 1,600 destinations. Maybe this will lead to more companies stepping up like Greyhound is. This has been WCPT telling you that you can shop blue.
This update sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Take the next step forward in your career with great benefits and an award-winning workplace. Apply at careers.progressive.com.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Russia has attacked a Ukrainian hospital days before Ukraine's leader meets with President Trump. AP correspondent Mike Hempen has more.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says the overnight attack on Kharkiv hit the city's main hospital. Officials say 7 people were wounded and 50 patients had to be evacuated. Zelensky meets with President Trump at the White House Friday, seeking more American military help. He says Russia has been targeting Ukraine's energy facilities. The Zelensky-Trump meeting is expected to center on the potential U.S. provision to Ukraine of sophisticated long-range weapons that can hit back at Russia. The Ukrainian leader is urging foreign countries to help blunt Russia's long-range attacks by providing more air defense systems for his country. I'm Mike Hempen.
On Sunday, Trump told reporters that sending Tomahawks to Ukraine could be a pressure point for Russia.
Do they want to have Tomahawks going in their direction? I don't think so. I think I might speak to Russia about that, in all fairness. I told that to President Zelensky because Tomahawks are a new step of aggression.
The U.S. brokered agreement in the 2-year Israel-Hamas war is holding today, but some questions remain, including the health conditions of the released Israeli hostages and freed Palestinian prisoners, and when Hamas will return the bodies of the 24 hostages believed to be dead in Gaza. Only 4 of the deceased were turned over to Israeli authorities yesterday. Shares in Europe and most Asian markets fell after China imposed new sanctions on the U.S. subsidiaries of Hanwha Ocean, a major South Korean shipbuilder. And several Los Angeles neighborhoods were ordered to evacuate as a rare October storm hits Southern California. It's expected to bring heavy rain, high winds, and possible mudslides. This is AP News. AP's Lisa Dwyer reports on the new winner at a prestigious pumpkin weigh-in.
Brandon Dawson, a California engineer and gardening enthusiast, has won the top prize at the 52nd World Championship Pumpkin Weigh-Off in Half Moon Bay.
Let's see how much it weighs.
2,346 pounds. That's roughly the same weight as a small sedan or a large bison. Dawson says that while it is a hobby, it is also a family affair.
We like to spend time out in the patch and watch the thing grow. When it's picking up like 50 to 70 pounds a day, you can really see it growing day over day.
While he won't be able to quit his day job, he still won a tidy sum of money.
We're going to give you a check for $21,114. Yeah, baby!
I'm Lisa Dwyer.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Partial sunshine develops here for today. We'll see high around 70 degrees. Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, we'll have a chance for rain showers here late, mostly cloudy and a low near 56. By Wednesday, a slight chance for rain showers, cloudy high of 63, and Thursday, sunny high of 70. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 61.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. During Donald Trump's 2024 presidential campaign, and now even, he had his rallies where he poorly danced to the YMCA. Let's take a look at all the musicians who threatened to sue Donald Trump if he used any of their music at his rallies. ABBA, Adele, Aerosmith, Andrew Lloyd Webber, The Animals, Beyonce, Bruce Springsteen, Celine Dion, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Earth, Wind & Fire, Elton John, The Foo Fighters, Free, Guns N' Roses, Linkin Park, Neil Young, Nickelback, Olivia Rodrigo, Ozzy Osbourne, Panic at the Disco, Pharrell Williams, Phil Collins, and yes, that includes Genesis too, guys, The Estate of Prince, Queen, R.E.M., Rihanna, The Rolling Stones, Spinal Tap, Tom Petty, and Twisted Sister. So if you're looking to buy some records or go see a concert, I consider checking those artists out. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
You're listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey, guys. Welcome back to Choose Views, and thanks for being with us this morning. You know, it was great having Mayor John Laesch on from Aurora. And one of the things that just as a quick reminder, first of all, thanks to you guys who send me text messages. Sometimes there's got to be a cleanup on aisle 7 or at least a dust up. We want to make sure that we separate the difference. We know the difference between ICE and National Guard. And, you know, we recognize that. Make sure that, you know, we stay supportive of our National Guard. They're being put in an awful situation, and our next guest will talk a little bit about that compared to what's happening with some of the ICE agents. And I just want to make sure that I lean back into that. And for those of you who are going to be with us tomorrow, our event with Thom Hartmann is going to be up at Max and Benny's, the union event, versus at the location in Broadview. And that's been done because of the fact that we want to just be mindful of the proximity that we are to this ICE detention center facility, whatever, cluster, whatever, that's taking place. So we're going to be at Max and Benny's tomorrow afternoon from 3 to 5 with Thom Hartmann, and he and I'll be co-hosting that. So just as a quick reminder. All right, guys, it's Wednesday. It's not Wednesday morning. It's Tuesday morning, and with us is someone that's decided that they are going to dive in without a parachute to this upcoming election for a Senate seat in the great state of Kentucky. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about my good friend, and personally, I will say, one of the best new hosts of a podcast called Truth in the Barrel. You guys know her as Amy McGrath. Good morning, Amy. Welcome to the show.
Hey, awesome to be with you this morning.
I'm telling you, I'm very happy to be talking with you. Thanks to all the folks that helped to get us back together again. Your director, Katie, was awesome when we talked last week, and we were able to kind of get all this nailed down. But I'm glad that you were with us, glad that you're back with us. And, I'll just dive into the deep end of the pool. Yeah. You've made the decision to get into this race against Mitch McConnell. So let's get right to it. Let's talk about what was the driving force or forces behind you making the decision to do this again.
Sure. Well, it's not actually against Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell stepped down.
That's right.
So this is an open seat, and it's an opportunity for Kentucky, I think, because we can finally have a senator that has the will to fight for Kentucky families. And so when I looked at this and believe very deeply that people need to step up where they can, I saw this open seat. We have a midterm. I think Mitch McConnell himself saw the writing on the wall and left the seat wide open. And Kentucky has proven that we can vote the best candidate into statewide office, whether they have a D or an R behind their name. We have a really strong, great Democratic governor in Kentucky, Andy Beshear, who won re-election in 2023. So, I don't think you can count Kentucky out. And I also felt like control of the Senate, which is so important to check this president, hinges on really non-traditional seats, shall we say, like a Kentucky Senate seat. So those are all the factors that I looked at. And also, wanted to make sure that my family could do this again. I think that was probably, the most important thing. But really, it's about stepping up for our country, stepping up for Kentucky. That's what it's always about for me.
And that's what I was just going to say. That's what you've done time and time again in your career, military career. And since then, you've stepped up for the country, not just for Kentucky. And as a part of stepping up for the country, Kentucky has benefited. And so many. And I say this with all the support that I can say. Millions of people have benefited from you being a part of this process. What do I mean by that? You, by running, have brought attention to some of the deficiencies in Kentucky. I don't mean Kentucky being deficient, but the deficiencies of the political leadership from McConnell and others. Certainly, Governor Beshear has been that huge shining light. You've been one as well. You've made it clear in your campaign, but also when you weren't running, how important Kentucky is to you, but also how important it is to the country at large. So, your energy to this time is important, Amy. And if other people aren't saying it, I'm going to say it. And I'm glad that you're in the race. And I'm going to do everything in my power or in my purview to help you win this race, because not only is it going to be good for the state, it's going to be good for the rest of the nation if you were to win this seat. So I'm really excited about it. I can't even tell you, because it'd be nice to see the change.
Thank you. And, we're ready to work. We have a great team. We believe in Kentucky. We believe in our country. And I think, like a lot of Kentuckians, I'm not willing to sit back. I want to work. I'm just like many of my fellow Americans. We're ticked off right now. We're angry about the way the country is headed, and we have a right to be. What's happening with this president is dangerous. It's not normal. You're experiencing it in Chicago. And, we have to stand up. We have to be a voice for common sense and for our country right now. So that's why I'm doing it.
Imagine what it would be like to have two great Democrats in the state of Kentucky in leadership roles, Governor Beshear and you in the Senate. Those will be game changing to moves, and in an atypical, state that people may not think that would be one that would lean in that direction. So that's a lot for us to be excited about. And you narrowly lost, or narrowly did not win. I try to keep it positive with my language. And I would say, Amy, and not taking it down a negative path, but I just want to say that two of the most destructive politicians in the last 20 years in America have been Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell. Two of the most destructive and least progressive least delivering to the people that elected them have been Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell. So I'm glad that he's no longer going to be part of this conversation, and that your voice is going to be one of the new voices if we can get you elected to this Senate seat. That's exciting.
Well, we have a lot of work in front of us, but we're ready to do it. It's important work.
What's the biggest, I don't know if there's a singular biggest challenge, but what are some of the biggest challenges you're going to see in this race, and how are you going to try to navigate through those?
Well, Kentucky is a red state. We haven't elected a Democratic senator in many years, and it tends to be, the state voted for Donald Trump. But I do think that what's happening right now, Richard, with these tariffs, with this bill that really decimates healthcare, particularly in rural areas that they passed this summer, that isn't what Kentuckians voted for. So I feel like there's a lot there where people are sort of looking around saying, I thought the president was going to do this, but he's not doing that, and there's total chaos. What you're seeing out of the federal government, what you're seeing out of this administration, the tariffs in particular, Kentucky's on the front line of this Trump Republican trade war. We are top in the country as far as having imports being a big share of our economy here. And so exports get hit as well. And so the bourbon industry, for example, the production has plummeted. Manufacturing, these tariffs hit manufacturing in Kentucky. That's 13% of our workforce. That's automakers and air cargo. Our farmers, these tariffs are killing the family farm.
Literally.
And it's increased costs for all Kentuckians. So I feel like, there's a path there to be able to say to people, look, the truth is that these tariffs are a tax on you. They're a double tax that none of us asked for, that nobody wants. And there's really Donald Trump is to blame, yes, but all of these Republicans that go along with him are also to blame. And Congress in general, that is controlled by Republicans, is to blame. Why? Because Congress is supposed to have the power to do these things, and they're ceding it to the president. So that's just one example, and that's not even going into the health care bill, which is just devastating for Kentucky.
So, Amy, this is the needle that I think you're going to have to thread, and I know you probably have already realized this. There's going to be other folks that are running, both on the Democratic side and the Republican side. Your name is probably one of the biggest names in terms of recognition in the state, based on the two previous races that you've run. So, McConnell's not who you're running against. You're going to be running against initially Democrats, and then you get to the general against a Republican, presumably. How are you going to thread the needle when there's not a boogeyman? And I know that this is part of politics, so I got to ask you this question. How are you going to thread that needle? And I think you know what I'm talking about, to attach the deficits that Republicans have created to how you can lead better for the state of Kentucky. Does that make sense, what I'm asking you?
Yeah, it does. So look, I think that you continue to speak the truth, Richard. And the truth is, no matter who wins on the Republican side in this race, they are all complicit. They are all cheering on Donald Trump in pretty much everything that he ever does. So even when it hurts Kentucky, and that is my message to people is, look, these folks on the Republican side, they know, Richard, that this stuff they know the tariffs are bad for Kentucky. They know this health care bill devastates Kentucky. 1 in 3 Kentuckians are on Medicaid. 35 of our rural hospitals are at risk of closure. This is a big deal. And not to mention the subsidies from Connect, which is our equivalent of the Affordable Care Act. People's premiums are going to go up. They know that this hurts us, and they are afraid of Donald Trump. They are afraid to have their own opinions. They are scared of him, and I'm not. Yeah. And I think that that is a way where I talk to Trump voters every day. It's Kentucky. We live here, and it's wonderful. And you talk to people, And what I hear from them is these simple phrases. He's gone too far.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't what I voted for.
Mm-hmm.
It's chaos. And that's where I feel like, okay, there's something there.
How do you, and you got to figure out a way to bottle that and make that part of the larger message, not because it's just about messaging, but because it's the truth. I mean,
it's the truth.
He's gone too
100%.
far. Like Governor Pritzker's talked about with regard to ICE and then the Trump administration. They just keep lying. They keep lying themselves out of the lies that they told, and they're feckless. And one of the words that comes to mind for me, that the Republican leaders, and when you can't even call them that, I say elected officials, are cowards. And
totally cowards, and they're not going to ever stand up for Kentucky. If it goes against the president, Kentucky takes a back seat, and that is where the major difference here. And what we're seeing from folks in power right now is not what most Kentuckians voted for. Did they vote for higher prices? No. Did they vote for less health care and more taxes in the form of tariffs and putting our rural hospitals at risk to close? Because that's what we're getting.
Yeah. Are you going to, how are you going to navigate with the folks in our own party or your own party there in Kentucky that are also running?
Well, look, I think very highly of everybody who is running on the Democratic side in this race. What's interesting to me is all of the folks who are running on the Republican side are all Mitch McConnell interns. They were all grew up within they're all lifelong politicians, and all of the folks running on the Democratic side in this race are all public servants. We all have a background in service.
Yeah.
And that is really unique. I mean, it's United States Air Force, I think Secret Service, CIA, and myself in the United States Marine Corps. We're not lifelong politicians. We're here to say enough is enough, and we're here to speak the truth. And I feel like that's just so telling right now.
Yeah, it really is. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I am talking to Amy McGrath, who's become my new sort of political buddy that we are just trying to beat back all this fecklessness and these cowards on the right and raise the strength level of those on the left to do more and go in and being prepared to fight. And Amy is running for Senate in the great state of Kentucky. So thanks for being with us this morning. Let me ask you this. What are lessons, and I know that there are a few, and you don't have to share them all, but what are a couple of the lessons that you learned in your previous runs? What is it that you pulled from that you can say, you know what, Richard, this is what I figured out. I didn't know this last time, or I didn't quite get this. I get it now, and this is going to make me a better candidate and make me a better senator. What would be a couple of those nuggets?
I think the one thing is you're going to make mistakes, and you just, for me, I think the best thing is you fess up to them, you move on. People know that you're human. They know that sometimes you say things you wish you hadn't said in that moment, or you hadn't said it that way. I mean, my God, we're all human.
As a parent, you probably definitely have that.
Card. I mean, look, if everything you are saying is taped and recorded, I mean, try doing that. It's not easy. But I feel like you just have to keep moving, because the message, if you're in it for the right reasons, people will see that. The best campaigns also, Richard, are built on listening. Mm-hmm. When you listen, you learn what matters to people the most. You learn, those, some people call it the kitchen table issues, the cost of groceries, or keeping hospitals open, or just having leaders who show up and tell the truth.
Yeah.
And I've learned that, people don't necessarily want perfection. Some people who are very loud, perhaps on the internet, maybe they want it, but most people just want honesty and hard work and persistence. And that's what I've learned.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be valuable for you and so many other people that are running in other states. I mean, I was reminded by one of our listeners, Iowa, Maine, North Carolina, Ohio, Kentucky, we have a big shot in all of those states to essentially take back Democratic control of the Senate. If we can pull off those wins, then we will be able to be that firewall that's needed to affect Donald Trump's, certainly the second half of this term, and better the country by bettering those states. So you're one of those people that has been listening, and I know that you're going to be able to take that to the next level. How's a governor? Let me ask a different question. How are folks in Kentucky viewing Governor Beshear and how he's managing the state?
Oh, I think that Kentuckians really have deep respect for Governor Beshear. I mean, he's been a fantastic governor, level-headed, common sense, and Democrats, of course, really love him. But I think that independents really like him too, and I think Republicans respect him. And I have nothing but good things to say about Governor Beshear and how he's governed the state, the types of people he has surrounded himself with. He's been fantastic.
You've been talking. You talked about earlier the fact that there are certain issues that or things that you're hearing Kentuckians say about Trump and his regime and what they're doing. Have you figured out, or have you figured out some messaging early on? And I know that I don't want you to let too many of the good nuggets out too soon, but where your initial voice is going to be in terms of what you're going to be saying and what you're going to be saying the loudest and the most frequent.
Well, I think you've heard some of it already with regards to tariffs. These are things that Kentuckians did not vote for. When they voted for President Trump, it's not like they were voting, hey, I really want tariffs. Nobody voted for that. Yeah. Nobody voted for that. And when I say that to people, even with they're hardcore conservative, they start shaking their head. Yeah, I didn't vote for that. On the healthcare piece, it's promises made, promises broken. Mm-hmm. These guys said they would not go after Medicare. They said they would not go after Medicaid and Connect, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah,
that's exactly that's what's happening. The singular legislative accomplishment with all of the power. Okay, the president is Republican. He has the White House. We have a Republican House, a Republican Senate. And with all that power, what did they do with it? They had one big bill that cuts taxes for billionaires, cuts health care from Kentucky, and adds a staggering $3 trillion to the national debt.
Meanwhile,
and for a lot of people, just reminding them that isn't what you voted for.
Yeah, and meanwhile, we're helping, Venezuela. And the list goes on of things that that they didn't vote for.
They're helping. Was it Argentina with
Argentina? Thank you.
Decimating our soybean farmers here, but you're bailing out Argentina or whatever at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, so those are things that we certainly didn't. None of us voted for, or at least people who like to say that they didn't vote for it, but they unfortunately did get it. So, Amy, this is an area that I don't know many people have asked you about. What about the Supreme Court, and how are you, if you think you can, or will you try to integrate some of that into your messaging in this campaign and what the Supreme Court is doing in terms of some of their decisions?
Oh, the Supreme Court. I mean, look, this is the court that unfortunately Mitch McConnell built, and we look away at our own peril. And we have looked away at the importance of the Supreme Court, and now we're paying the price.
Yep.
I mean, I thought Citizens United, when I ran last time, Richard, when people asked me, what's the worst Supreme Court case in modern history? I would say Citizens United. It allowed all of this dark money into our politics. And, of course, Mitch McConnell used that, and that was the system that he built, and we're still, unfortunately, dealing with that today. But I think one that tops that is the case last year where the Supreme Court basically gave immunity to the President of the United States for anything that the President does. And that is just so un-American and frankly scary. I mean, especially when you talk about the military. Yeah. The use of the military on American soil, these extrajudicial killings that you're seeing the military perform on the high seas off the coast of Venezuela. These are things that, the president can't be now held to account.
Or they can delay.
That is very worrisome to me.
Yeah, that is. I would say that is it. It's bigger than some of the other. I mean, voting rights is a big one, and there's others, but that gives this, unrestrained power to a person that is, by many measures, not quite there, fully there, playing with the deck that we would want our president to play with, certainly at this time. Amy, there's so much more to talk about, and we'll have to figure out how to do this again, and be a part of the process. I'm unapologetic for certain things that I say, but none of it's bad. I want you to win this race, probably as much as just about anybody that's not in the state of Kentucky, for all the political reasons as it relates to the numbers and what we would have in the Senate, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I think it'll be a good partnership for the state to have someone like you there to represent the state of Kentucky, frankly, the region, the neighboring states, but also what the country will benefit from by having you as a U.S. Senator in that seat. So I'm really excited for you. I want to be one of your allies to help you in this process as best I can with my show and what we do here. What are some last words as we wrap up today?
Well, I think you said it pretty good. I mean, don't count Kentucky out. What happens here can decide the balance of the Senate in the direction of our democracy. And so, I'm excited to start this thing and get out there and campaign. Because it's about who we are as Americans and who we are as Kentuckians.
Absolutely. How can folks find you if they want to get involved in the campaign and contribute or whatever else they might be willing to do?
Sure. It's amymcgrath.com, and you can get all the information there.
Absolutely. Amy McGrath, the new U.S. Senator, next U.S. Senator from the great state of Kentucky. If I get my wishes and my prayers answered, then that's what we're going to have. Thanks for being with us this morning on Choose Views.
All right. Good to see you.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye now.
Bye now.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Whether it's day or night, hot flashes due to menopause can be unpredictable. That's why there's Veoza, a prescription treatment proven to reduce the number and severity of hot flashes day and night that can start working in as early as 1 week. Based on clinical studies measuring efficacy at 4 and 12 weeks, individual results may vary. Talk to your healthcare provider about what this may mean for you. For moderate to severe vasomotor symptoms or hot flashes and night sweats due to menopause, Veoza can cause serious side effects, including liver problems. Your doctor will do blood tests before and during treatment. Stop Veoza and call your doctor if you have symptoms of liver problems, such as feeling more tired than usual, decreased appetite, nausea, vomiting, itching, yellowing of the eyes or skin, pale stool, dark urine, or stomach pain. Don't use Veoza if you have cirrhosis, severe kidney problems, kidney failure, or take CYP1A2 inhibitors. Ask your doctor about Veoza. To learn more, call 1-866-239-1637 or go to Veoza.com. That's VEOZAH.com. Paid for by Stellus Pharma.
Still struggling with gas, bloat, constipation, nausea, or diarrhea? Have you tried eliminating foods but felt no change? It's time to call the tummy whisperer, Renee Barish, at Digestive Health Solutions. Renee uses targeted testing to reveal exactly what's happening in your gut. Gut bacteria plays a key role in all your body functions, from cardiovascular regulation to brain function. When the gut is imbalanced, you may experience symptoms that extend beyond the gut, such as anxiety, skin issues, poor sleep, or increased risk for disease. Digestive Health Solution uses advanced testing to identify harmful microbes and evaluate the overall balance of the gut ecosystem. Get insights into your health, digestion, and how your microbiome affects all aspects of your body. Stop suffering. Call Renee now at 847-207-2034 or visit thetummywhisperer.com. That number is 847-207-2034. Let's get you feeling better. The Tummy Whisperer.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Partial sunshine develops here for today. We'll see high around 70 degrees. Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, we'll have a chance for rain showers here late, mostly cloudy and a low near 56. By Wednesday, a slight chance for rain showers, cloudy high of 63, and Thursday, sunny high of 70. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 61.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
There we go. All right. Buttons are breaking over here. Welcome back to Choose Views, guys. Thanks for being with us this morning. And, of course, our number is 773-763-9278. Great having Amy McGrath with us this morning. And I am an advocate of her candidacy. I want her to win. I have no apologies for stating that. I think she's going to be a great candidate and would be a great senator if she were to win that seat. And we need that seat. So politically we need it, but also just the representation that she'll provide for Kentucky, I think, will be very strong. So there you go. We've had this gentleman with us before on Choose Views and on WCPT at large, and it's exciting to have these smart dudes hanging out with us to make us smarter and give us a reason to stay in the fight from a database standpoint. The Center for American Progress has always provided us with good information and things that we can kind of sink our teeth into as we go along. And with us this morning is the Senior Director for Federal Budget Policy, none other than Bobby Kogan. Good morning, Bobby. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Richard. Thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely, man. How have you been doing? How have you been hanging in there?
It's a busy it's a busy time. People only care about the budget when things are going phenomenally wrong in the country, and that's where we are. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting. It's like, we want to care about it all the time because at any given moment, politically, shifts in politics can shift the budget or who's providing data and information as it relates to requests and policy. I got to ask you this question, man. I've gotten a lot of commentary from people. I've gotten a lot of notifications and feeds from different folks that I'm connected with and to on social media and things that people will send me emails. And I just want to launch right into someone, more specifically, Bobby, that I want to get your thoughts on, and that's Russell Vought. And obviously, he's done some harmful things. He's been a voice through Project 2025 as a harmful advocate for destructive things in America right now. But talk about what your observations are of this dude and what he's done, what he's trying to do more of.
Yeah. I'm glad folks are paying attention. Russ is one of the most important central figures in the Trump administration this time around. He was important last time and really getting his feet going, and now we get to see everything he's been pushing for. Russ is very smart. Russ is very hardworking. Russ cares about getting the details right, and that means he's very dangerous. Russ is an extremist, and he believes in an America where the entire executive branch is completely beholden to the whims of the president. That means he's the sort of person who thinks that the president gives you an illegal order. It is your job to follow that illegal order. He doesn't believe in independence. He believes in everyone doing precisely what the president wants. And he has been instrumental in trying to reshape the entire executive branch in the president's image and in some ways his own image. That's an America that does less to help the folks who are struggling. It's an America that does more to control those who disagree, to stamp out dissent, whether that's internal, all the firing, first the schedule effing, and now the direct firing of anyone who has any ability to put up a roadblock against the president's illegal actions. And it also means that he's someone who's trying to reorient what the budget does away from helping those who need help and towards corruptly helping those who kowtow to the presidency. He's a very, very, very extreme man, and he has a lot of power, and folks should be paying attention.
I've said this for the longest time. It's those people who you don't recognize. I mean, he's become a name now that for those of us that spend time in this, that we know who he is. But a lot of regular, everyday Americans don't know who he is and what his background is and what he's built off of. Talk a little bit about that. You talked about him being a detailed person, a hardworking person, but you can be working hard and be detailed in the wrong direction. And so, it's sort of like you can be digging in the wrong direction. And doing that, you tear away you go out and start digging in your yard and hit a line, you can kill yourself, or you can kill somebody else, or you can destroy the foundation of your house. He's doing that right now. Is that a stretch for me to say that?
Yeah, what he wants is an America that looks completely different from what we've seen before. He doesn't believe in any.
Say the words though. Say those other words. You're being kind, and you're normally you throw some fastballs and some curveballs. But say what you think that looks like, or he thinks that should look like.
For the budget, he thinks that the president should be an appropriations king. It is illegal to not spend money when Congress says, hey, spend money on something. And it is illegal to spend money if Congress hasn't given you permission. And he's breaking both sides of that. He believes the president can just ignore laws when Congress says, hey, you have to do that, you have to spend money here, and the president signs it into law. He thinks you can just ignore it. And the flip side, he thinks you can spend money into existence without congressional approval. That's a president who can literally do whatever he wants in terms of spending. Don't spend it here, spend it there, whatever you want. That is completely upend the way that we have been doing things for forever. At its most extreme, that means the president can just, you take something simple, right? It says, oh, well, Congress thinks we should do, I'm making it up, $100 million on these bridges. President didn't think so he just wants to do 50 million. That doesn't sound so extreme, except what he thinks is that there's no way for Congress to say, no, you actually have to do this. So you take that to the next level, and maybe he says, well, I just don't feel like doing Social Security payments to the state of California. I don't believe in doing Medicare reimbursements to states that allow trans services or anything like that, right? You go to the logical extreme, he can just pick and choose and not spend what he doesn't want to. And that's what they've been doing since day one. What they've been starting to do is illegally spending without congressional approval. You have to be careful here, because some of the times that they're transferring, they have the legal authority to do it. But there are a couple cases so far where it seems as if he is spending without any approval. That's a constitutional prohibition in the Appropriations Clause. And we also have the Anti-Deficiency Act that says you can't do that. That's super extreme. It means the president can just literally do whatever he wants with the budget. As I say, they've kind of been doing it slowly and starting off small, but they've been growing and growing. In terms of the other parts of the government, he has stated very, very, very openly that he does not believe in independent agencies. Obviously, we've seen the president transform the DOJ from an independent agency into one that prosecutes his enemies and gives cover to his allies. That's the sort of stuff that you would see all over the first half of the 20th century in fascist Europe. It's a pretty foundational thing for failed democracies to have the judiciary just do whatever the president wants. We see that, in the Federal Reserve, which obviously would wreak economic havoc if the Federal Reserve just kowtows to the presidency. But it's all over, right? It's any of these things. He believes that the entire government should be reordered to the whim of the presidency. It's a super, super, super dangerous ideology.
So let's get into voting, because my brain goes down the path of, okay, so how do we get rid of him? We know that it's got to be a change of administration, but the path to that means an election, a midterm, state elections in terms of state legislatures, all the things that are part of voting and changing the political leadership. So I presumably think that he has the same feeling in terms of extremism when it comes to the Federal Election Commission. But I don't know that. I'm drawing that from what you said in part about his belief that the president's essentially ultimate power. But what are your thoughts there? Because that's the fix right now. Because the Department of Justice is not going to say you guys have got to act right or differently. Republicans in Congress are not going to do it. So, to be realistic, we are waiting to get to the midterm so that we can change the House of Representatives and potentially change the Senate to put the brakes on and to call into question and call in hearings run by Democrats. However, if he's got this belief system, meaning Russell Vought, then where are we when it comes to federal elections and how this administration might take that extremist thinking and try to put that into play?
It is very difficult to fight against an administration that is dedicated to breaking the law. There's just no way to sugarcoat that. The sky is the limit if you want to break the law. Sorry.
No.
His brain was going to bad places. The sky's the limit if you want to break the law. Theoretically, what's supposed to happen then is the courts are supposed to intervene. They hold you in contempt. The administration, in some cases, has been adhering to court orders. In some cases, has been kind of not following them, but in kind of weird, circuitous ways, where a court will put a stay in an executive order, and then they'll do it anyway. And they say, well, we rescinded the executive order. We just randomly decided to do the same thing, not through an executive order. So we're technically stayed the executive order. And so, it's doing the thing that they're not supposed to do, but through a way that they pretend they're following the court ruling. And then in a few cases, they've just been flagrantly ignoring court orders. So we haven't really had a strong run up against the judiciary, but also the judiciary, at least the conservatives on the Supreme Court, have been taking pretty strong steps to just do whatever Trump wants. Your mileage may vary on why that is, whether they are trying to preempt conflict or whether they just want to do whatever he wants anyway. I think different people listening will have a different opinion on why the Supreme Court is doing what it is. Maybe they're just completely bought and sold by the Federalist Society. Again, everyone's going to have a different opinion. That one is pretty tough. Theoretically, Congress can then do stuff, right? Congress can impose penalties. Congress obviously can impeach and remove. I don't think we'll get the votes to do that, but you're talking about the power that the legislative branch is supposed to have. They can impose civil penalties on Russ Vought, right? So the Democratic bill to reopen the government has a handful of different very clever laws that are intended to go after some of the very specific ways that Russ Vought has been breaking budget laws. Lots of very clever things, but they're not maximally strong, right? They're not calling to impose civil penalties. They're not calling to impose criminal penalties. A stronger bill might choose to do some of those things. Then you have to get it through the president's signature, but it's the sort of thing that with a prolonged fight, you could maybe start to see if we end up winning a bunch of elections. Then you get to the question of what are we supposed to do if we are having tough contested elections? And I don't really have a great answer there.
And I wasn't as smart as hell as you are. I wasn't looking for a great answer necessarily or having you thread the needle. I think that a lot of what happens, Bobby, and I know that you see this not just from a policy standpoint, but from common sense, is that people get disconnected when it gets complicated and when we have to really dig in and do more than just navel gaze on this stuff. And we've got to really say, this is serious. It's happening for a reason, and we've got to dig in and fight. And oftentimes it isn't going to be a perfect answer. It's going to be that we're talking about it so that there's an awareness. And that's why I said a moment ago, I think Russell Vought is someone that a lot of people regular everyday folks don't know about. But this guy's a wrecking ball, and it's not a big wrecking ball. He's got a small one that's just chipping away. And the next thing you know, once you chip away enough, then the foundation is gone. And that's the reason I wanted to kind of launch right in and talk about him, given your expertise when it comes to federal budget. So No, man, I'm not looking for perfect answers. I'm looking for conversation, and I so greatly appreciate you taking us down these paths. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with Senior Director of Federal Budget Policy, Bobby Kogan, with the Center for American Progress. So let me ask you this question. One of the things, or at least talk about this, one of the things that became a conversation right after the election, going into the inauguration and now where we are, is this sort of decorum versus law and policy. So what I mean by that, and you know what I mean by that, but for our listeners, a lot of people did not realize that many of the things that happen from our federal government are built off of sort of decorum and normalcy or regular things that we would done, or this is what the historical way has been. And then that verses itself up against law and policy. And do you feel, or what are your thoughts? I mean, let me ask a more broad question. What are your thoughts about, as Democrats ease back into power on a state level and on a federal level, that some of the things that we're fighting against right now become law and policy rather than just decorum, if that makes any sense? Do you know what I'm saying?
I think so. There are a lot of things that we've taken for granted that we simply can't take for granted anymore. It's impossible to have a system that is simultaneously flexible and abuse-proof. And we have relied on the fact that we believed that we'd have good and well-intentioned actors. And that has allowed us to have more flexibility in the system. And I think what we are learning and what we are seeing is that we can't do that. We need to create more rigidity and less room for abuse. Just to use one example, inside of appropriations laws where we fund the government are like over 1,000 pages, and they have tons and tons and tons of detail, and then they reference tens of thousands of pages of specific limitations and bells and whistles. But then Congress includes a bunch of report language where they say, well, we were thinking for this additional specificity, and they go into tons and tons of details about what they were thinking about how they would use the program. And that's something that the presidents tend to always follow, but it's not actually binding. And typically when presidencies have thought about deviating from that, Congress would threaten them, and that would be enough. The President Trump is simply ignoring that, right? He is ignoring congressional intent. This is not technically illegal, but it's something that for, hundreds of years, the president has just tended to abide by congressional wishes. It's the sort of thing that you can't do anymore, right? You cannot have a system where we are relying on everyone being a legitimate actor. We've seen a party that has been willing to go along with the president in completely abolishing the way things have done. And so we need to, fundamentally, when we retake power and we're thinking about how to reconstruct the government from its kind of tatters, we can't just be putting it back the way it was. We need to be thinking thoughtfully about how to rebuild in a way that is less prone to demolition.
Yeah. And see, that's that perfect answer right there. That's Bobby Kogan really swinging for the fences, because we can't put it back together the same way. We have to put some new structural pieces in. We've got to have that I think, sort of national awareness. And Bobby, talk about this a little bit as we kind of wrap up today. What so many people in the country don't understand. Again, I say this again about it gets detailed, it gets ugly, it gets muddy, and not in a bad way, but it's complicated. And a lot of folks don't really pay attention to that until something crazy happens, and now they're like, oh my God, from a budget standpoint, this is going to be horrible. So is there a way, or what ways would there be for regular everyday folk to be more aware and more conscious of the budget process, or not so much the process, but that the budget exists, and here are things that we all should be talking about when it comes to our federal budget? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, totally. It's tough because it's actually incredibly poorly reported on. Congress will report on big fights that change a small part of the budget, but they don't report on basically the stuff that we fight about every year, because it happens in a couple days and it's 1,000 pages and it takes a lot of background technical expertise to get the reporting right. So it's actually pretty tough for people to follow along. If you're educated and reading, it's really, really tough to get all the information. So I wish I actually had a better answer here. There are a bunch of resources, but I don't actually think any of the resources give you enough context to really follow along. So I think what I would leave people with is just kind of an overview of what the government does.
Yeah, I think
the government.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
Oh, I was
My
just
bad.
going to say we fund 70% of what we do goes to people, and we lift 30 million people out of poverty every year. And for the remaining, hundreds of millions of people, we do a lot of help for people. So that's our Social Security, that's our Medicare, that's our Medicaid, that's our nutrition assistance, that's our education, that's our housing. It's the sort of stuff that we imagine a real society that is trying to help people would do. Again, over 70% of what we do actually directly goes to people or indirectly goes to people via states and their local governments to help people. That's what we want. That's what we should expect. And the remaining 30%, it's the military, it's our cancer research, it's our stroke research, it's our other biomedical research, it's our R&D for the future, our cutting edge technology and research that helps America prosper. It's our infrastructure and our transportation stuff, and it's the people who run the government. It's a really important thing, and it's really insufficient, right? We do great things, and it's not enough because people still struggle. And it's really tough to pay attention, and it's really, really, really tough to see all these things happen. And what the president is doing is he is reorienting the budget to help his allies and hurt his enemies. Rust vote literally canceled projects that had already been approved only in the states that voted against Donald Trump. That's awful. That's like fundamentally fascistic. It's the sort of thing you would expect to see in like 1930s and 1940s Europe. So the best that I can say is you have to read a lot of the independent reporting. It's a tough thing to follow, but I do my best to write about it. Others do their best to write about it. And we just got to remember that the stakes are high because the point of the budget is to help people succeed.
One of the crazy, and Bobby, thanks for that. I put my pen down and just listened because, I've said this before, that was a masterclass on understanding. And that's the thing that I want more of folks in America to do, is to be participant in the understanding process and then get involved, get elbows deep in what really goes on. And I know it's complicated. I know it's boring as hell for a lot of people. But the only way I believe we're going to get there is for people to take baby steps in getting there. And that's very helpful, which is why I'm going to definitely make sure we have you back again. I told you last time, you're a rarity when it comes to this, and it's complicated stuff that you're able to break down conceptually so that people have a better sense of sort of where this can go. There's so much more to talk about today, and I appreciate you being with us this morning. But let me ask you this last thing as we kind of wrap up. What are you working on? What's keeping you optimistic? I don't want to say what's keeping you awake at night, but what's keeping you optimistic right now? And I know that, I don't want to guide your answer. Talk to us there.
It's really, really nice to see congressional Democrats stand strong. I think I was in the camp that felt very strongly that there would be no shutdown at the last minute. Democrats would cave precisely as they did in March. And to see them kind of dig in stronger and stronger and clearly talk about what the budget is supposed to be. The budget's supposed to help the American people. The president is proposing a budget that would institute cuts to things that Americans rely on. And the president is insisting on the ability to unilaterally cut a bunch of things that Congress agreed to. They see them stand up for that. That makes me feel really happy. That gives me a lot of hope. I'd like to see a lot more of that. I think it's insufficient as is, but I think that it's a great step in the right direction. Cowardice begets cowardice. Courage begets courage. And the more that everyone stands up, the more that everyone else can stand up. So that's the thing that keeps me going. That's the thing that makes me happy. And I'm thinking a lot about how we can be helpful in the years to come, in the months to come, and in the years to come. And what I'm working on is figuring out every single day I'm seeing more and more and more kind of shutdown effects and illegal things that they're doing, and always trying to figure out how to message that better, always reading just so that we can, I can figure out how to explain this to people, how I can explain it to listeners, how I can explain it to journalists, so that everyone can, kind of shine a light, and then we can all be a lot more courageous.
Yeah, that's powerful stuff, and it's empowering. Bobby Kogan, man, thank you so much for being with us. I love listening to you talk about this very complicated part of our society that is our federal budget and the policy that goes with that, and you being willing to throw those fastballs at Russell Revolt because of his extremist destruction that he's wreaking on this country. But let's stay optimistic. Love to have you back again in the weeks to come. Maybe we get you back on before the end of the year to talk about as we go into 2026. Does that sound okay?
That sounds great. Thanks so much for having me back on, Richard.
Always, man. Be well, stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon, Bobby. Take care.
Take care.
All right, bye-bye. All right, guys, Bobby Kogan. You can go to the Centers for American Progress and just Google his name, and you'll find a tremendous amount of information, not just on him, but what the center is doing to keep Americans informed. And I say this as respectfully as I can. Rather than keyboard worrying about your anger about a lot of things, what I would suggest that any and all of us do is go to places like Center for American Progress to look at what they're doing, what they're writing, what they're trying to do to inform us as a way to continue to add to your arsenal of information to defend against the crazies that you talk to and encounter every single day. I highly recommend you do that. It gives you, it empowers you, I believe. There you go. Thanks for being with us today. Thanks to Bobby. Thanks to Amy McGrath. Thanks for Mayor Laesch for being with us. Take a deep breath, y'all, and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, it's the Laesch one. I'm up on the transmitter trying to power us up so you can hear us on 820. But if you can't hear us on the radio, you can also hear us on heartlandsignal.com, Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn Radio app, and SoundCloud.com/WCPT820. It's the Sports Cubicle, 9 p.m. on Sundays on WCPT. Whoa!
The Sports Cubicle, Sunday nights at 9 p.m. on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
This Wednesday from 3 to 5 p.m., WCPT